The lake effect, the squalls continue around the Great Lakes. Have you seen snow lately? Have you had to drive through some of these areas that have been seeing really near zero visibility? This was north of Barrie. Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, that side-to-side thing does work because otherwise you just get so tired on the one side. So doing some of those tips that Mike was just talking about is a really good idea. We've had some flurries today around the GTA even. Let's turn it over to Kevin and see what it's like outside. You had me at coffee. Let's take a look at, I love my coffee. Okay, snow squall watches and warnings are in place. Georgian Bay, Lake Huron. Also want to mention this area down toward the southwest with the northwesterly flow that comes back tomorrow. I wouldn't say epic snow, but a lot of snowfall expected right down into that Strathroy 402 area. We'll have to watch that closely. Lake Huron shores up into, well, Owen Sound and Stayner, for the most part along the lower lakes. And also want to mention Toronto. It's possible that overnight Wednesday we may see 2 to 4 centimeters of snow that will slicken up the commute. Lake effect, snow squalls in the Great Lakes Basin, and that means that some areas in southern Ontario are seeing snowfall and a few flurries even having reached into the GTA. We've got the cold and we've got the relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes, and that's why we have what we have. But we also have a cold weather alert in place for Toronto, and with more details on that, here's Kelly Noseworthy. Thank you so much for that, Kelly. And boy, do we ever have some cold temperatures on the way overnight tonight. No question. Well, it's all sinking south. Tomorrow is going to be bitterly, dangerously cold. Snow squall watches and warnings in place from Georgian Bay, Lake Huron, Eastern Superior. It's been days now that we've been seeing the squalls. Now there's an area also down toward the 402 that we are particularly concerned with, just to the west of London, down into Strathroy. This not necessarily epic snow. I mean, in the past we've seen so many issues for that area just because the fetch from Lake Huron is just perfect for that area. Just something that we need to be mindful of, that if we get those winds to come in at just the right angle, we could be dealing with a massive squall in that particular zone. But there are areas, Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, seeing a lot of snowfall as a result of the lake effect that returns. This trough, this is coming in tomorrow. There could be some bursts of snowfall around Toronto for the morning drive tomorrow. So that's something to be mindful of. And then we're back into the squall activity. Lake effect, snow squalls, reducing visibility. It can happen within really a matter of kilometers. So be careful when you're traveling out there over the next coming days. Good point. Thank you very much, Kim, for that. Let's take a look at where we stand with regard to the snow that we are experiencing. Maybe you're going to have to get out and shovel that snow. Or maybe you have a good Samaritan with a snow blower in your neighborhood. Well, if you're in the GTA, I don't know if you're going to necessarily need a snow blower, but let's check in with Kevin in Hamilton and see what it's like outside. Thank you so much, Kevin. And there are some areas in the province that will need snow blowers because we have snow squall watches and warnings in place. So it may not be the case in Hamilton and Toronto where it was just a little dusty. You can get that off your car pretty easily enough. But Parry Sound, back toward Wyerton, Port Elgin, Southampton, these areas, and down in the southwest, there is an area around Strathroy that could see, with just the right angle of the wind and a long fetch on Lake Huron, we could be dealing, and this is an area that typically sees a lot and sometimes epic snowfalls. We've watched that one zone in particular, but look at this, right up into the Grey Bruce. Those areas could be seeing a lot of snowfall tomorrow. Also want to mention this trough coming through, some bursts of snow with this red line could mean some snowfall for the GTA commute tomorrow. Just something to be mindful of. And very cold temperatures waking up to the minus mid-20 wind chills tomorrow. Have you heard about the cold that's on the way? In the GTA tomorrow morning, not only could there be some bursts of snow, but the wind chills will be in the minus 27 range. Yes, tomorrow morning, so be prepared for that. In the meantime, we've had some flurries around the GTA. With more on that, let's go over to Kevin. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. And earlier this morning, Kelly Noseworthy got some really great tips on how to prepare for the cold. And this is an interview with Toronto Public Health. Have a listen. We're talking wind chills tomorrow morning in the minus 26, minus 27 range. So for southern Ontario, with a little trough from the north as well. So this is really going to be the coldest air we've seen so far this season. And in addition to that, if you head north of the city, you're going to be running into some squall activity, watches and warnings in place. And this would be the case for today and into tomorrow. For the most part today, the winds are from the southwest, especially for the lower lakes, and then tomorrow they'll come in from the northwest once again, so that areas in Georgian Bay back toward Lake Huron very easily, and in most cases, especially closer to the lakes, you're talking 15 plus centimeters of snow. We've had road closures as of late. We can see that southwesterly flow is talking about, and then tomorrow more of a northwest. That's the red line that we need to watch. There could be some bursts of snow associated with that for the morning commute in Toronto. So don't be surprised if all of a sudden you're running into some snow. That's not necessarily lake effect. That's more the trough coming through. It's heading north that you run into those squalls per se, closer to the Great Lakes themselves. When we look at the winds from all of this, yeah, the winds are gusty at times, but it's all about this snowfall. I know you watch your local forecast. I know you do every 10 minutes on the 10s right here on the Weather Network, and you maybe saw those numbers jumping out at the screen at you for Toronto, for Hamilton, for tomorrow morning's temperatures. Yeah, wind chills in the minus 20s, minus high 20s, in fact. So lots of cold on the way. But how do we combat the cold? How do we dress properly for these conditions? Let's turn it right now over to Kelly Noseworthy with some tips from earlier this morning. Thank you so much for that, Kelly. Let's take a look at our weather conditions. We also want to mention these snow squall watches and warnings because there are some areas, so it might not be in the GTA proper or the city of Toronto or Hamilton, but it doesn't take long to be driving north and west to run into very poor and at times nil visibility in snow squalls. When we look at our map for the snow totals between now and tomorrow late day, we keep in mind that we have switching wind directions. You know, if it's from the southwest today and then tomorrow's from the northwest. But regardless, we've taken both of those days and put them together to show you the amounts. And really it comes down to that, doesn't it? How much snow are we going to get? Well, Grand Bend, drawing a line through Bayfield up toward Kincardine, Port Elgin, Southampton, Owen Sound, seeing quite a bit closer to the lakes. Now, if you're further away, if you're in the Mount Forest area, you might get some snow, but not quite as high. The winds, they're brisk today, and tomorrow it is going to be very cold to start the day in the GTA.